What is a hero? A mythological figure, often of divine descent, endowed with great strength or ability? An illustrious warrior? No. It's a person admired for achievements and noble qualities, one who shows great courage. Welcome to the What's a Hero podcast, where we dive deep into what a hero is and what makes them that hero. I'm your host, Ken Frownfelter, and I'm going to be introducing you to some of the world's most likely and unlikely heroes. You may have never heard of them before, and they most likely have never met you. But they all have one thing in common. They are ready to do whatever it takes to help make you better, even if it means sacrificing everything for you. Let's get into it.
This is episode 91 of the What's a Hero podcast with me, Ken Frownfelter. If you saw them in the street, you probably wouldn't recognize them. They don't carry a gun or wear a shiny badge. They don't drive an ambulance, a patrol car, or a fire truck. They are often working when most people are home in their beds. They are missing family functions, dance recitals, and school plays, working long hours to keep their communities safe. Their pictures don't often make the paper, and they rarely make the news. These are emergency telecommunicators, the unsung heroes of the first responder world. 911 operators and emergency dispatchers work tirelessly behind the scenes as the first point of contact in emergency response situations. The way an operator handles a call can sometimes be the difference between life and death. Although it can be incredibly rewarding, being an emergency telecommunicator also comes with risks. Rates of depression, anxiety, and PTSD are almost 3 times higher among emergency call takers than they are among general population. In Canada, dispatchers and 911 operators are classified as first responders under federal law, but in many regions, they are classified as administrative personnel and do not have the same access to mental health support other first responders do. I know the public's perception is sometimes that the role of the dispatcher is that of a phone operator, but we shouldn't feel that way about ourselves. Orrin E. Ray writes in the Journal of Emergency Dispatch, "The dispatcher is such an important component of the entire emergency process, but so often not recognized." And I bring that up and I tell that because I'm going to guess you guys are smart enough to know who I may or may not have on my podcast. You may not know the name of this person yet because I've not said it. However, you obviously know what they do or did. But this guest of mine today is such a hero that they put a lot of time and effort into things, put their heart and soul out there for other people. And I know a lot of dispatchers that do the same thing. They don't get the recognition. So today we are going to recognize them. And with me today is one of those dispatchers who spent a long time doing just that, 28 years being a dispatcher and a call taker and a 911 telecommunicator per se, specifically. And that would be Miss Deborah Green. How are you, Deborah?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
That was a beautiful introduction.
Well, I think it's important. I think it is one of those things that we do forget every once in a while. I've had some other dispatchers on here, and you are probably the one that's been on the job the longest and with the most experience. I think even I had a two, not a two-parter, but I had 2 guests in here, both dispatchers, and I think your 28 years is still longer than their time put together. So, nevertheless, it's still good. Welcome to the show, and
Thank you.
man, my understanding is you have a story. Obviously, you have a lot of stuff that's happened throughout your life, but you've got a couple stories that are they're life-changing for you and those involved, correct?
Yes. Well, going way back, let's hit the way back machine.
Okay,
when
so
I started my career.
Well, hang on a second. Let's go back even further than that, because I like to figure out how it is and why it is you did that. So let's go back to, who was Little Debbie? Not the Swiss cake roll girl, but that little one.
You know that's funny because when I started at the department that I retired from, somebody did cut out a little piece from the snack cake box and put it on my locker.
Oh, nice.
And I kept that until retirement.
That's funny. So
So
who
yes,
was?
I have a.
Well, that's cool.
Who
That's cool.
was I?
Who
Oh my
was little Debbie?
gosh.
What did she do? What was her thing when she was growing up?
Oh my gosh. I think the first thing that I think every little girl, we all wanted to be marine biologists because we wanted to play with, the dolphins and the whales and whatnot. And,
Sure.
things changed down the road. I come from a family of public service.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people in the military, a lot of cops, no firefighters, believe it or not, which that's kind of weird now that I think about it.
Mm.
But I kind of went the way of the military. I was in Civil Air Patrol.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Civil Air Patrol, which is the cadet auxiliary of the Air Force.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was in Air Force ROTC in high school. And then when I graduated high school, I kind of went off the rails and went to fashion merchandising school for a year.
Oh.
That just wasn't my gig,
It was. Like, what am I doing?
It wasn't oh my gosh, but I think I could take that and design more the uniforms for the military. But
well, is that what you wanted to do? Is be in the military? Was that your?
I think eventually when I went in, yeah, I kind of wanted to stay in the military, but things happen. So I joined the National Guard. So when I was in school, I met my first husband, and then I moved to Texas. Divorced, met my second husband there, had a child, and moved back to California. At that time, I kind of, it says, my full-time gig and then National Guard on the weekends. And wanted to do something more service related. So I started on the path of looking into being a cop, tested with the sheriff's department here in Sacramento. And then found dispatching as just off, as part of it, and got hired with Sacramento Police Department.
So did you wanted to be a patrol officer, right? Initially?
Oh yeah, initially.
And then the dispatcher bug bit you, or?
I think so. I think so I started out my military career in communications. And when I came out here to California, I joined a military police unit. And so I went to MP school and became an MP. And then got hired with Sacramento Police. And while I'm in the academy for the police department, the LA riots happened.
Oh.
So
early 90s.
Yeah, so 92, 93. Yeah, we're hitting the way back machine way back.
Yeah.
So while I'm in the academy for that, I got called as National Guard to go to LA. So I was there for 6 weeks. And then once I came back, I finished up. So I was about 6 weeks behind everybody else in the academy, but they were very accommodating and got me through the rest of that rather quickly. And I lasted with them for about 11 months. And I just wasn't fast enough. I don't know how to, because Sacramento is a big department.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, it's not your LA or San Francisco or New York, but it's a big city down here. So, and I took that knowledge that I learned, and I went immediately and started applying to other smaller agencies. So, Highway Patrol, their dispatchers are rather, so their centers are small.
Right.
They do a couple counties and then, a couple little cities, and I got hired with El Dorado County. And that's where I ended my career. So we had a lot of interesting things happen.
So you started early 90s during all that, and you went through the whole 90s, and then obviously you retired not too long ago, I'm guessing, right?
2021.
Okay. And obviously it didn't just, it might seem like it was, one day you sat down at a console, the next day you stood up and you were retiring. It might seem like that now, but I'm assuming as you were going through it, that's not how it was. There was so much more to it from.
There's a lot. I mean, you hear people say, "Oh, you're just a dispatcher." That's not it at all. I don't just answer the phone, write something down, and then send a cop. There's so much more to it than that.
Right. Did you know that getting into it when you first started looking at that? Or at what point did you realize that?
Probably when it was too late and I'd been in 10 years. I know that sounds funny, but no, you just kind of grow. It was a real, how do I put? So when I started, we had 2 screens,
Mm-hmm.
a phone, and a radio.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started out small. But then as technology grows, as population grows, as it just you get more and more and more, and you don't realize how much you're growing until the end.
Right.
So
right.
When I retired, we had 10 screens double stacked. One of those screens was the radio. One of those screens was the phone.
Uh-huh.
I had 3 mice, 3 keyboards. And we were considered professionals rather than secretaries, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yep. Because there's an old way of thinking that you just answer the phone there, sweetie, and write down where I need to go, and I'll go do it. You stay here, and
exactly
that old style mindset. When there's way more to it.
That's not the case. I mean, for 28 years, I've become a psychologist, a IT person, a radio professional.
Mm-hmm.
You name it, there it is. I know how to navigate all of this and try to keep somebody calm and think 5 steps ahead of the cops that are on the road to get them what they need, and then come home at the end of the day, try to get some sleep, manage a household with children
mm-hmm.
and now grandchildren. And, there's so much more to the job now than there was. And I'm really applauding efforts by those that have boots on the ground, that are at state capitals, that are at the Capitol in Washington, D.C., getting us the recognition that we need.
Right. Yeah, because there's just a ton of things that you don't assume. We don't know if you don't know somebody that's already in that position, don't know somebody that's a dispatcher. We don't know what you know. We don't realize what it is that you guys have to go through and you have to be up on. Like you said, you got to think ahead. You have to be almost 5 moves ahead of what the officer is going to ask. What's he going to be asking for in 5 or 10 minutes? What's he going to be needing? And you're trying to provide that information because you're in a controlled environment with all this information at your fingertips, and he's trying to figure it out on the fly, and you are his lifeline.
Right. He's the one driving. I'm the one giving him the call. He's the one driving, but I'm in the back running warrants, running licenses,
mm-hmm.
finding information on that house, getting a map up,
researching prior calls there, finding out what
and answering new calls, entering new calls, and dealing with other cops on the road on different calls.
Right. So you're juggling.
So where So where the guys on the road are just going one call, I'm doing 20 at a time.
Right.
And it's our department used to require during FTO that the guys come in and sit at least one shift with us.
I think that's fantastic.
And see what we do.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And I think vice versa, it works out just as well. I think it's good that dispatcher goes.
Gosh, I loved my ride-alongs.
Mm-hmm.
Those were a lot of fun. Where else are you going to go 125 miles an hour up a windy, twisty road to get to a domestic? Hey, that's great.
Right.
And that happened actually. And I'm looking down the side of a cliff going, you're going 100 miles an hour on this road. He goes, what? You got airbags? You're good.
Yeah, it's still not easy.
Yeah, that's no, but it was fun seeing both sides, and
Right.
getting in there and being in that smaller department and being able to do that. And, that was fun.
So how long were you in the National Guard and all that before you became a dispatcher?
It kind of overlapped.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Yeah. So I was with Sacramento Police. Oh gosh, when was Rodney King? Rodney King was in,
I thought that was
that
about
92?
90.
It had to be 92 because that's
Yeah.
when I got out. So the first part of 92, I was in the academy for Sacramento Police. And that's when Rodney King happened. And I had joined in 86 for the National Guard.
Hmm.
So I was up on my 6th year to get out. And then I got out that August.
Okay.
And that's just because I realized that my kids needed me in one piece.
Mm-hmm.
And that being
Right.
and my husband at the time had he was in Iraq during Desert Storm.
Mm.
So they already had the one parent that was gone for a while. And do they really need another parent to be gone? So I figured the dispatching was the best bet.
Sure.
As far as the kids were concerned and not having to worry about their parent dying on them.
Right. So you're looking at early, mid-20s? Is that right?
I was 26 when I got hired with El Dorado. So that was in 94. So I was 22, 23 when I got hired with Sacramento.
So at 22, 23, you've seen some stuff because you were in the National Guard and you were doing other jobs and stuff like that because National Guard's not a full-time gig, right?
Right.
And so you're doing these things. As you're going through, at what point did you start coming into your own, like, hey, I know what I'm doing here. I know I'm comfortable back here and I'm able to help answer questions, or I'm of people coming in, not so much somebody on the phone, but you were comfortable doing your job. You had learned enough to be a viable value to what you're doing.
Oh my gosh. I think it was 5 years in at El Dorado.
Yeah.
Where I finally felt comfortable. Maybe not extremely comfortable, but I felt finally comfortable enough in my own skin as a dispatcher.
Mm-hmm. Was there a specific call or anything that happened that caused that to be that way? Or was it just, hey, you went home one day like, I got this?
I think it's just I went home one day and I said, I got this finally, when I think also a supervisor had come up to me and goes, when are you going to apply to be a dispatcher too? And I went, oh, okay, I guess I'm good enough to do that.
And that's a different classification. That's the next
right. So you're moving up. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of people would do it like 1 year, but I honestly didn't feel comfortable enough. And so once I finally got that, then because when you're at SAC, you were either a call taker or radio. Where when I went to El Dorado, when I first started there, they had El Dorado County Fire, El Dorado County Sheriff, and Placerville Police Department in one center. And we were our own department within the county. We weren't with the Sheriff's Department. So we were under like ambulance billing or something, but we were the dispatch that contracted to these agencies.
Right, right.
So then we lost fire in 96 or 97. They went to Cal Fire. And then Placerville Police Department decided they wanted their own dispatch in 2000. And then that's about when El Dorado County came over and said, hey, we're going to absorb you guys. So technically I worked for El Dorado County Sheriff for about 20 years, where, the other time was with it was county. Mm. Mm-hmm. It's hard to explain.
Right. No, it's understandable. It's understandable.
You go through all these little changes, and yeah.
Right. And obviously when something changes, there's a little bit of a difference. We want you to do this. We want you to do that.
Right.
But at none of those times, you're like, did you say, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous or anything like that? There's always the level of saying that. But,
that was more after I'd been there 20 years. It's like, oh, do I really need to be doing this anymore?
But you were able to sit there and say, well, I'll just take what I've got and we'll just apply it here.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I know what I'm doing. So you start going through this whole thing of you have these great epiphanies where you're like, hey, I know what I'm doing. You have people coming up to you saying, hey, why aren't you looking at promoting yourself and trying to get further along? And I'm assuming you also became a trainer too.
Yes.
At some point after 28 years, they're not going to just let you just sit over in the corner.
I was kind of, working towards that in 2011, 2012. I became a trainer officially. And, I did really good.
If you do say so yourself.
If I could tell, I wasn't the best, but I did okay, as a trainer, and I brought some changes into the culture, or helped bring changes into the culture, making them a little more standardized than it was. Brought ideas from schools, brought those in and got those adapted so that, we had a more standardized training program, which was nice.
That is good. That makes a big difference right there, because if somebody's coming in and everybody's just different and you just do it this way, you do it that way. And how's somebody going to learn? Because everybody learns differently, but how is somebody going to learn what they're supposed to do and not get in trouble in the grand scheme?
Exactly.
And not get somebody else in trouble.
Right. My first night at El Dorado, I was handed a binder and shown to the Xerox machine and said, here you go.
You can go make your own copy of this.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I sort of had to make my own training manual.
Wow.
And it was very strange. And when I left, I was a trainer until 2016. So for about 4 years. But what I did was I stayed as the admin support for those trainers. So what I would do was make sure that the new people had their training manuals and study materials when they arrived their first day.
Oh, right.
And kept those updated, kept tests updated, kept manuals updated to what was current, and rewrote all the manuals at one time, just to get them in a standardized format. And so it was, that was a lot of work, but I think that was where my heart was at, was the teaching part of it.
Yeah, that's cool. But it's unfortunate that you did it in 2012 and not sooner, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But things happened, and life happened, and I wasn't able to do
Sure.
that.
No, I'm with
earlier.
you. I agree with you. It's just amazing that, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and before you know it, time flies, and you're
oh gosh, yeah,
you're saying, what the heck? I wanted to do these things, but I was where I was supposed to be, apparently.
Yes.
So.
Yes, exactly.
So you were, as you're going through, it's not all sunshine and rainbows and happy good times. Obviously, we know this, because you guys get to you get everybody calling in that says all the negative stuff. You have all these people that are coming to you first and saying, hey, I need someone here now. Either they're saying it because they're having a bad day, or they have a misunderstanding of the situation and it's way worse than, or it's not as bad as they think it is. And you're still trying to figure out, what are you trying to tell me? But there's all sorts of people that you get to meet over the phone.
Oh, soup to nuts. Literally nuts. You have the people that you help educate on the use of, what's going, how to use the system. They're calling 911 for, something that it should be non-emergency. So you give them the non-emergency number to get them off of 911 because 911 has a finite number of lines.
Right.
So you try to get those non-emergencies off and so that you have the true emergencies, but then you answer that non-emergency number and it's the old person who doesn't know that they should be calling 911 so that we have their location information and things like that. So you have an education of the public, and then you have those people that I guess that are entitled.
Mm-hmm.
You guys on the road probably had them a lot where they know the law, quote,
right,
air quotes.
Right.
They know the law or they know something and they know their rights, and what they're saying is complete trash.
Right.
But they're the most obstinate, nasty people that you have ever met in your entire life.
Right. You're trying to tell them, no, well, we can't do that. And like, I know this happened and you can do, and they're telling you how to go about doing your job.
Exactly.
And it's just
or the ones that I don't like the tone of your voice. Okay. That's nice.
What do you want me to do?
I mean, granted, my voice isn't, sunshines and roses either sometimes. And there was many times where they were like, oh, you're just being so rude. And okay, whatever. I've got a job to do.
Right. And then they do a gripe or something to the boss. They pull tapes or they pull audio and they listen to it. You hear your own voice.
I hated listening to my own voice.
Especially if your boss is like, did you say this? Well,
obviously I did. If it's on the tape.
Yeah.
I think one of the dispatchers, I just it was wonderful. Somebody's demanding to get the cops right there, right now, and he goes, "We cannot beam them over." And I'm like, oh, I wish I could say things like that.
Yeah, there's that level of things you wish you could say, and you're like, it's just not me.
What I called them was last day lines.
The
shit you want to say to people on your last day.
You should write a book on that. That would be great.
The Karen calls up and says, I pay your salary. And I've spent hours thinking, okay, how much does she pay in taxes and how much does that really go into what is I'm actually making? And I think I figured out it was like 1 minute of my time per week that she was allowed.
Oh, really? Well, let's break this down.
And I really wanted to explain that to these people. But, you just kind of go, no, it's not worth it.
That's funny. Yeah, because that's not something you think of. You always hear that. But yeah, how much when you really do the math?
How much are they actually paying me for my time? Here you go. You have 1 minute. Go.
Can I get a raise, please? I'm looking at.
Oh, my gosh.
And then there's a people that would sit there and tell you, hey, I need this. And you're like, well, we don't do that. That's not our job. The people that want you to get somebody for the pipe that's leaking in their house or the.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. Yeah. And when you're not, and it's like, okay, so, and those were the people that a lot of times were appreciative when you did give them the correct information.
Right.
It's like, okay, let me find out where this goes to and, we'll help you out. And,
right.
And you had the old people that would just say thank you, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then your crazy people that would call up. Every department has one, at least one that calls you all the time. That you know their name, you know where they live, you know their phone number.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I have several dispatcher friends who will say, "Oh, that's so and so," and like, "Oh, yeah, he calls all the time. We know him."
Oh gosh, yeah. We had one lady that she moved from. She was a pain in my butt in Sacramento when I was a dispatcher there.
Mm-hmm.
When I moved to El Dorado, she was there too.
Really?
It was like she just moved. I'm going, really, lady? Come on, find a different place to live. You're following me. She eventually got arrested for destruction of property because she was Wayback Machine, everybody. She was at a payphone. And she got so mad at us that she destroyed the payphone. And one of our deputies happened to be driving by when she was doing it.
Oh.
So he got her, arrested her right there on the spot and got her some help. And she called us years later and she was about something and she didn't realize we knew who she was. But she was on medications and had gotten help. And
Sure. Yeah. And she's doing much
was on
better.
the straight and narrow. Yeah, doing much better.
Yeah, there's tons of people like that. And it's funny that you get to know these people and they're just living their life and they have so many run-ins with the legal system, whether it's the police, whether it's calling dispatch, whether it's EMTs or whatever. And they do this and you don't, and for me, you don't realize they know your name. You're like, "Oh yeah, well I want to talk to this officer." What? Or I was just talking to Deborah on the phone and she
yeah. You never give your name ever.
Right. It's like, how do you know her name? Yeah.
Because
they somehow know who you are or whatever. It's just
or you're stupid enough to give them your name. And I did that once. And after that, they got was my dispatch number.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, nope. I'm not going to have you know who I am. Luckily, they don't know what I look like. So, if I see them on the street or something, then I'll recognize voices.
Yes. Oh, I'll bet you were standing in line at a grocery store and you hear two people behind you, and that's
and it's like, okay, I'm out of here.
Wow, yeah, that would be something. That's not something I thought about. Is that you guys hear the voice and you know the voices. And
So with my PTSD, I'm triggered by audible.
Oh yeah,
not by sound or not by sight.
What do you mean?
The worst. So like 4th of July is really bad for me, just because of my final shootings, because I've heard so many gunshots over the radio. And so 4th of July is really bad for me, especially if I'm alone. Like this last year, I was alone that night and ended up taking a Xanax and going to bed. It was bad.
Huh. And but you get to, you'll hear noises or whatever, and that's the thing that's gonna set you off more than anything.
Yeah.
Huh. So you obviously, like I've said, you've seen a lot, done a lot. Take us down those roads of some of the goods and the bads and the highs and the lows and the
oh my gosh,
and the lessons you've learned in those.
Lots of lessons learned. I think helping people out. So we had a really nasty call one year it was Christmas Eve too. Child abuse, domestic violence kind of call. They arrested both the parents and had to take the kids into foster care on Christmas Eve.
Ugh.
No tree in the house, no presents in the house, nothing. These kids had barely any clothes. So our shift, dispatch and patrol, got together, pulled out whatever cash we all had in our pockets at the time, and sent somebody over to Walmart to go get stuff for these kids. They brought it over with wrapping paper. We wrapped them up at dispatch, and the patrol took it over to the foster family so that those kids had something Christmas morning.
Oh wow, that's probably the first one they've had for a long time,
probably,
or ever.
And I hope. I mean, it was had to have been almost 20 years ago when that happened. And you just wonder hopefully it made some sort of difference with those kids.
Right.
The little old lady who her dog died and she had nothing to bury. And here we go again. We're all pulling out cash so that she can go and have the dog buried and taken care of that way.
Right.
It just, they're heart-wrenching, they're not they're not the typical calls that people would expect.
Getting into it, did you think that there would be that level of emotion?
No, not at all. But being in El Dorado County is kind of a more rural county, so there's not, the population wasn't as big as it is now, but everybody kind of knew everybody up there. You know, you knew the families that have been up there forever. And, you know, you did things. That's what cops did.
Right.
They did those good things, you know.
Right. And I would say that they still do. There's the police and the dispatchers and records specialists that still get out there. They're, hey, we need to get this. We just got a bunch of stuff. That's the Christmas presents for these kids. Can we get them wrapped?
Yeah.
Let's look at law of averages, and I'm not being sexist or anything like that, but the majority of cops are going to be are going to be male, and the majority of dispatchers and records specialists are going to be female. Right. You guys rap so much better than guys do. Girls rap. They can wrap a present.
I try. I do my best.
Can you help me wrap this? I mean, that's the same thing of, hey, can you write this card? Because if the guys write it, it's going to look like scribbled.
Well, I was the one who passed around the cards for birthdays and you know, and ended up doing, you know, the sympathy cards for other departments when they lost somebody.
Right.
You know, I was the one that coordinated all of that kind of stuff. And so, yeah.
Yeah, that's normal. And because as guys, we just don't think about that sort of thing. And not to be like we don't care and stuff like that.
Oh, no.
We have no problem putting all that stuff in the back of a pickup and then taking it over the house and lifting the bikes out and putting those on the, you know, that stuff is normal. But
you don't expect that's part of your job. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean,
right. That's not in the job description.
Everybody expects the shootings and the stabbings and the
chases and the fights and the.
Yeah, exactly. You know, pursuits and that. Well, yeah. So you don't really know what you're getting into, you know, and then when you see this, and nobody realizes there's this whole other side to law enforcement, you know. Mm-hmm. There's the kinder, gentler side of law enforcement.
There's human side.
Yes. Yeah. And that was where I felt the best, you know, doing and just really serving the public that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's where you felt like you were doing your job. That's where you felt like you were actually giving back. Huh?
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that is a disparagement with dispatchers is the closure of things, where you start out the call of, oh, hey, okay, 911, what's your address? Oh, you're here? Okay, we'll send officers. What's going on there? Oh, you know, there's a domestic, there's knives, there's guns, whatever. There's a fight and all this different stuff. You get this whole thing that's happening. And then you find out from the officer, you know, the officers that go and they say, hey, can you run these people? Can you look for these warrants? Blah, blah, blah. And then you might even be able to read whatever disposition they leave. But you don't really, and then you don't hear about it again. You're sending them to the next one. And then you might, in the back of your head, go off your shift and you're laying in bed that morning because you worked all night. And you're thinking about, man, I wonder what happened with that call. That closure that you don't necessarily get. Without being friends or having a good relationship with those officers on scene who are willing to come in and kind of like. Well,
being in a smaller department, we didn't have as much of that non-closure. Yeah. When I worked at Sacramento, there was lots of it. You know, there were what's going to happen because you were answering the phone, taking the information. Okay, thank you very much, and going to the next call. I mean, you know, I was doing 100 calls a shift at Sacramento.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, during an 8-hour shift, you're not there to get personal, where being in a more rural county, we have a little more time and we can stay on the phone a little longer and really help these people out. And then if it's short and sweet, we can read the dispositions, but the deputies would also come up and talk and we could ask questions.
Yeah.
Which was really good. We had when I first started there, it was an us versus them.
Oh,
and I really, we really tried to change that environment amongst us on that front line.
Right.
That's where good. The supervisors and the managers were like, oh, we don't want them coming in here. And it's like, why? It's like a free debriefing.
Right. For both of them.
They can understand where we were coming from and we can understand where they were coming from and they could tell us what happened. And it really helped to have that kind of relationship with everybody. It was okay for me to go down and talk to the sergeant and find out if I had a problem with a call.
Right.
And find out what happened. It wasn't, I really enjoyed being with the rural department. It was great.
Yeah, there's a lot of you can develop yourself and figure out, hey, did I do that right? Was that right? And you can get that feedback, or you can get that. What happened with those little kids at that call?
Right.
They this happened and it was actually okay. They were good to go. Oh, good. And you wonder, but there's just those fringe that never get to be tied off.
Yeah, there's a few. One of the ride-alongs I went on. And not many people get to do this. So I actually was doing a ride along with an officer, and he was doing his workout before shift. So I wasn't going to be down there in the car right away. So what I did was I went back up to dispatch because we were, one building over, and I answered phone calls until he was done to help them out. So I took a call. Had it dispatched to him. I went outside, got in his car, and we went to the call. So I got to see the whole process, which was kind of interesting.
That is cool. Yeah. And you get to see the closure and all that stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was cool.
Right. So I know that obviously those are all cool, but I know that you have also been a part of some very major incidences that have stuck with you for a long time.
A lot of officer-involved shootings.
A lot, huh?
A lot. I've had I was working on shift for 5 of them. So my first officer-involved shooting, I did not know if my deputy was the one shot or who was shot until the next day. So that's your closure, your kind of closure thing. Nobody was telling me that he was okay or anything like that. I drove home in tears.
Wow.
Being a danger to myself and others.
Sure, yeah.
I lived an hour away from where I was working at.
So what was the call? What was the?
It was a prowler call in an apartment complex, and then all we hear is shots fired. And you do your protocol. You have a specific thing that you go through, but nobody ever told me who was shot.
Wow, that's
like you're supposed to tell me who shot. Right. So I had that one. Had another one. And those, they didn't end in a death. All of these, or at least, okay, some of them ended in a death, but not an officer death.
Right.
We had like a tally. Good guys, bad guys. How many are we up? We had quite a few where we killed people. And that's a darn shame, but it's the aftermath that takes the toll. So I had quite a few of those. We had back in 2007, we had 3 deputies that were shot, but not killed. Thank goodness. And I was not working when that happened, but everybody and their brother called and woke me up, because I had worked the night before and was going in for that night to work. And so I got woken up at, 2, in the afternoon with people going, what's going on? What's going on? And it's like, okay, I'm asleep. Why are you waking me up? What's going on?
Yeah.
So I just got to the TV in time to see one of my deputy friends being put into a helicopter.
Wow.
And it's like, holy crap. So I called work and they said, no, you don't need to come in early, just come in regular time. It's like, okay, I'll be there. And that was kind of hard. So I worked that whole shift. So I got up early because of people calling. I couldn't go back to sleep, went in for my shift. And then luckily it was my Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So after work, I drove to the hospital where they were all at to go and physically see them to make sure that they were alive and doing okay.
Right.
And that became my thing is after an incident, I would go and make sure everybody.
You were
I would physically go see them, check her in her, make sure everybody's fine. Okay, we're good. I can go home. And I think that stemmed from my first shooting.
The one where you didn't get any information.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And nobody checked in on you. No supervisor said, hey, are you okay? None of that.
No, it was a suck it up buttercup kind of atmosphere. Just suck it up and come back in. I expressed that, hey, maybe we should have a day off. Maybe, these gals that just went through a shooting with 3 deputies that are injured should get the next day off.
Right.
Maybe we should go see a psychologist, but it was met with deaf ears. Mm-hmm. We had a kumbaya meeting after one of our shootings, which was a start, come in and talk about our feelings with a psychologist, but it was with patrol and dispatch.
Right. It was a debrief, but it was we
called it a kumbaya meeting. So, we come in and it wasn't the tactical debrief. It was the mental health debrief. And that was back in 2015 when I think everybody was starting to get into that, we got a problem here and we need to address it.
Yeah. And so that first one, was that in the 90s, you said?
My first shooting was, I think it was we were in our new configuration in dispatch. So it was after 2000. So I'm thinking it was 02 or 03.
Yeah.
When I had that one.
I think about that. And I know that as we had gotten into, the war in Afghanistan and Iraq and stuff like that, after 9/11, we started getting into all these things where we had guys coming home and they were getting left behind because there wasn't a lot of, it was therapy or going and seeing a counselor or anything like that was seen as negative. Guys that would get law enforcement that would get into shootings or firefighters that would have major things where they'd lose guys or whatever. That was, you need to suck it up. You need to be tougher. You don't talk this issue out. You, like you said, suck it up, buttercup sort of thing. And the dispatchers were in the same boat. You just have to be tougher and you move on with your job. Well, I think we can credit the war and our troops coming back and going through that and saying, no, I'm going to do this. I need to go do this. And we need to have this. And this evolution of us being able to go and open up and get that stuff off our chest so then we can deal with this PTSD, deal with these things that we're struggling with, and then go into being able to be healthy and have a long, vibrant career or a vibrant life that we're able to spend time with our kids. We're not somewhere else. We're not shell shocked like the guys in World War I were. There's tons of stories.
There's been different iterations of that same PTSD throughout the ages. So, I mean, it's just, how are we dealing with it? And there was a big difference between my first shooting and my second shooting, where I had started a wellness program and working out. So our department allowed us to have 1 hour during shift to go in and work out. Go get on that treadmill and get out at the center, get your head straight.
Right.
So, I was not as, I don't know, I was able to cope better.
Oh, okay.
I had more coping skills, because my body was not the way it was,
Right.
and I was getting in there and I was able to, so after my second shooting, I was able to literally go in and run it off.
Right. And there's studies that say that having that physical, that ability that your body's able to withstand it, because that can start helping release whatever it needs to release in your mind to be able to deal with those effects. But the
Absolutely.
physical, the before and after, if you constantly work out, you have that time to get away, shut that off. But at the other time is if you go through it and you're having that traumatic issue, the after effect of working out, running, or doing whatever.
You're burning off that adrenaline that you have created from dealing with all this. So it's getting burned off, and then you can sleep better afterwards. So that was one of the first things in this journey that helped immensely, was being able, since then I've been pretty consistent at 3 miles a day.
Wow.
Walking,
cool.
running. Yeah. Since then.
Very cool.
Somebody, we had a new sheriff come in, oh gosh, 2011 is when he came in, and had Dr. Gilmartin come and speak to the department.
Mm-hmm. I've met him several times. Good man.
He is amazing.
Yeah. Yep.
That man is amazing. I've got his book sitting over here. That's one I'm not getting rid of.
You mean this one?
That one, yes.
You mean this one that I've got signed by him?
Oh, you're lucky. See,
I'm a celebrity. Yeah, just kidding.
He was amazing, and after I read his book, after he spoke, I was like, look at all this stuff that he's saying that I've already started doing, and oh my gosh, yes, it's helping. So,
right. Yeah.
Holy crap.
I read his book. I read his book first time in 2007. They gave it to us in the police academy. And so I read that book while I was there in the police academy, and I'm like, okay. And I used the principles, and I had forgotten the principles, but I used them. I knew them, but I'd forgotten where I'd seen them or heard them or anything like that. I met him again in 2021. In 21, I met him again in Las Vegas. Went over some stuff from his book again. I'm like, oh yeah, kind of reiterated. And then he came up to our department and he spoke, and I was like, that's right. I had been using all those things, but I forgot how where I came from, and then the details.
The book that every peer support in every department should have.
Absolutely. And it's an easy read. It's just common sense
fabulous
stuff. Yeah.
It's just a wonderful, wonderful book. And, if you take some of those and apply it, and then you learn these coping skills that will help you down the road.
Yeah.
But, nobody expects certain things to happen. So sometimes you can't cope with those right away.
Right. Exactly.
Well,
because you don't think about it coming on. You should let's say fill your tool belt with the tools you think you might need, and then you go out and do your job. Well, we're not sure what we might need, so you might as well just get every tool. Go to Home Depot, go down every aisle, get one of everything.
Yeah, get everything,
and then fill
everything. Yeah,
and then you go out and do it, and then But if you have too many things, you're going to be like, well, maybe this worked, maybe that worked, and you're not.
Yeah.
But if you're not versing yourself, so you need to be listening. I think this is at least my thing is I think you should be listening to the people that around you, what it is. Are they different? Are they struggling? and then come alongside them and be that person that they need.
Yeah. And just, be that caring person and just, listen. I think being a dispatcher kind of helped in that, that was my job, to listen. So, you can hear it in people's voices. But all the training in the world sure as hell didn't help me, though.
Yeah.
So, back in so a little, because we're on this, I had open heart surgery in 2015 to correct a congenital heart defect.
Oh, okay.
That reared its ugly head that year. I had a unicusp aortic valve that was in severe stenosis. So I could have literally dropped dead at any moment.
Wow. Okay.
And so we found that out in February, March, and I was in surgery in April. So it's been 8 years this year. But what I didn't expect, you've got the physical part. The physical part, it's all done. And yes, it was a little traumatic on your body. Not everybody has the hood popped and the valves changed.
Right. You get a new gasket in there. That's right.
And so I got that, and it really helped with my physical, and I was running without gasping for air by the end of the year. It was great. What I didn't expect was all the mental health challenges that came with it. So I went into severe depression and anxiety. I have an anxiety disorder now. What they call it, clinical depression. So going back to work after that was very challenging because I'm dealing with my own mental health issues and then having to deal with the public.
Right.
So nobody wants that dispatcher that's the blubbering pile of goo on the floor to answer that 911 call.
Right.
So I had a supervisor who and a good friend have an intervention with me and got me to go to EAP. And at that point in time, I realized I'm going to need more help than this, and went through my insurance and started with therapy there. Went to a bunch of classes, learned about depression, learned about anxiety and coping skills. And gosh, I went to I must have gone to 10 classes. Learned mindfulness, learned this, learned that, was in therapy, finally found a therapy group, support group for depression, and was there for almost 3 years, and was finally coming out of it, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel that wasn't the train, and feeling much better about myself. And then my shooting happened, where my deputy was shot and killed.
And I'm assuming you knew him.
Yes. And my actual last ride along at the department was with him.
Oh, wow.
And I had seen him downstairs that night because he came in late. And we were talking and joking during one of my breaks. And then he was shot. It was the weirdest.
Was it a call that you sent him to?
Yes. So I had sent him and two other deputies to a call out in South County for a suspicious subject in a marijuana grow. And when they got out there, they were ambushed. And he was the one that was killed. His ride along, he had a ride along with him that night too from another department who was also shot but not killed. And then the other two deputies were not shot. So it was a long, long, long night.
And you heard everything?
I heard all the shots, yeah.
And And you, how are you reconciling that at the time? How are you in disbelief? Do you think that it can't be what you're thinking it is?
I had, you have other shooting calls. So you hear shooting calls, you hear shots over the phone, you hear shots over the radio. It's okay. It'll be okay. That's what I was telling myself. It'll be okay. It'll be fine. They have cover. But then we couldn't get him on the radio for any updates. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe he's in a position that he can't transmit on the radio. So, hey, I put out a call. If you can hear us, click your radio. Nothing. We did it twice. There was nothing. And then I had heard we also had a new sergeant. So I had to prompt starting our protocol to him. It's like, hey, do you want me to do this? Because that's when you call out the cavalry to get everybody going.
Right.
So I was more in tune with something's happened. I've got to do my job real quick. Get everybody started. Get ambulances started. Get this, get everything secured. And then I heard that they had got him in a car and got him to an ambulance and he was on the way to the hospital. And I'm going, okay, he'll be fine. That's where my mind went.
Right.
Let's worry about everything else. Let's get these bad guys, get the SWAT team out there, get the air, the helicopters out there, get all this coordinated. And then, while he was at the hospital and they had declared him dead, somebody in the hospital that was not with the department posted on Facebook that he was dead. So,
oh my gosh.
Somebody in the general public, I don't know who, I really don't care who, but I hope they know that they really screwed up. So our lieutenant, who was first on scene at the hospital, called us so that we didn't hear from outside sources.
Right.
And it wasn't the way it was supposed to go. Somebody was supposed to come in and dispatch and tell us, but it was like,
we got to do this now.
We got to do this now so that you guys don't find out the wrong way.
Right.
So my lead at the time came over and told me while I was going through all of this, she goes, I don't know how to tell you. I'm just going to tell you, here's what's going on. And, so I started crying. I'm dispatching. I'm crying. I'm dispatching. The chaplain had shown up and she just looked at me and she goes, how are you doing this? And I go, I need to make sure that those guys out there on the scene do not know that he's dead until after all this is over with. Right. They need to concentrate on their jobs. And if I'm falling apart, they can't do that. So I'm crying when I'm not transmitting. I get ready to transmit. I take a deep breath. I transmit, and then I start crying again.
Wow.
So that was part of the self-induced trauma that I created.
Sure. With
myself.
But it was, it doesn't come from a bad spot. Yes, you did self-induce it, but it's not from a bad spot. You were trying to do, because you knew that if these guys got that word that he'd passed, they wouldn't be able to focus on keeping themselves safe, and who knows who else could get hurt.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I focused on making sure that they stayed safe, and I didn't allow, because my relief showed up also. They called in people early. Because this all happened at 1:30 in the morning, and I didn't get relieved, and my relief didn't show up till about 4, and we finally got the second suspect in custody at 4:30. And at 4:30, when he went into custody, was when I relinquished the radio.
Right. Had a little bit of an ownership in that.
went down the hall, sat in the stairwell, and cried for 20 minutes.
Wow. Yeah, I can imagine. Holy cow.
But nobody, when you hear of all of these officer involved shootings, these officer deaths, nobody realizes what we're going through on that end.
Right.
Nobody realizes we've sustained these PTS injuries.
Right. I got a couple friends. One's a patrol officer. His wife was one of our dispatchers, and he had an incident of, there was a car that nearly ran him over, and you could hear it in his voice when he transmitted over it. She happened to be the dispatcher at the moment.
Oh my gosh.
And she's a tough lady, and I don't mean like she's burly or anything like that. I mean her resolve is very solid. And she was like, "Oh my gosh," but she still hear her on the radio. Copy. Blah 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 blah. And she was just stalwart with it. But she said she was scared and she'd never heard her own husband's voice like that. And it was so, like, wow. And she needed to take some time afterwards and just go make sure he was okay. But there was, we've had other incidents like that where we have people who are so close to each other, and we've had major incidents happen, and they okay, we just got to do the job right now. And we were trying to do the job. We had an officer involved shooting one time, and they started calling people in for it because obviously those officers aren't going back to work. Mm-hmm. Like in the movies where they go from call to call, they shoot somebody on one call and they go to the next one and they're dealing with something else. It doesn't work like that.
No.
But so they got to start calling people in. It happened to be my day off. I get this phone call and the dispatcher says, she's like, "Hey, we're trying to call people in for work." I said, "All right. Yeah, so we had an officer shooting, so we need you to come in and blah, blah, blah." Cool. Can you do me a favor? Can you lead with whether or not people are okay or not? I need to know that first. I need to know whether the people that
Wow, yeah.
And it wasn't led with that.
I've never thought about that. We've always said that yeah.
The people that you're calling in have vested interests as well. Those are their friends. Those are their brothers and sisters. Wow. And so, I went and talked to her later, and I said, "Hey, I know," and this is a different dispatcher than I was just speaking about, but I said, "Hey, could you lead if that happens again? And that if, hopefully we don't, but if we get another officer involved shooting, can you lead with whether or not our guys are okay? And then say, hey, can you come in?" Because one, if you're just saying, "Hey, we need coverage," I'm fishing today. I'm out on the lake already. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Or, "Hey, we had an officer involved shooting. All our guys are okay, but we need the." Oh, yeah. Yes, I'm coming in. I mean, it's not as if we don't want to help, but I'm willing to not put my boat in the water and drive my trailer and boat and trailer back home, however far it is from the lake or whatever, then for a major incident and for also knowing that my guys are okay,
Yeah.
But I would encourage, if there are dispatchers that call people back in that car.
Yeah, that's a good yes, leading with that would be great. I never thought about that.
Yeah. So, but yeah,
Wow.
Those are my stories. Now you said something several minutes ago, and I wanted to kind of jump on it, but you were talking about something else. But you had said something. You said the aftermath takes its toll.
Yes.
What did you mean by that?
The aftermath, it's so when you have these critical incidents going on, there's a whole game. We're kind of like the hub at dispatch of everything going on.
Mm-hmm.
So we're taking the calls, we're dispatching the calls. So when I was on my critical incident, that's all I'm doing is I'm doing that radio, and that's what I'm doing. I'm making sure that they're getting what they need. I'm yelling behind me if I need something for somebody to make a phone call or whatever, but I'm right there.
Right.
You have people making phone calls, you have people calling in, we're dealing with the public, we're dealing with this incident because the public doesn't stop.
Nope.
They don't know what's going on, 50 miles east of them in the same county. They're having their own. So we're dealing with all of this at the same time, and nobody takes the time to go into dispatch to make sure that they're okay.
Right.
Because there's a big after, we're still dealing with phone calls. We're still dealing with, the media calling us, other agencies calling us.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not making sure that dispatcher is handling it okay.
Right. Because like you said a little bit ago that you can't say certain things to people, the things you wish you could say on your last day of work or whatever.
Right.
And that might happen because you are at the end of a rope.
I mean, there's been critical incidences where these entitled people call up and go, Joe Schmo's playing his radio too loud, but I've got a bank robbery with people hurt going on this other channel.
Right.
That I've had to deal with. And I've told them, I said, look, I've got this going on. You're going to have to wait.
Right.
And a lot of times when they see it that way, they go, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was one time we were dealing with a dead infant, and people were just, not that that entitlement comes through, and they're like, well, but you need to do this. And I go, look, lady, I got a dead baby call. I'm sorry. And hung up on her.
Yeah.
Your noise complaint can wait.
Your weed violation,
yeah. I mean, it's just
tall grass.
So frustrated at people that don't understand what's going on, and we have to deal with, the cleanup and the aftermath of all of this stuff because it does not stop in dispatch.
Right.
And
so you have those things, you have these major incidences, and then you have these little nitpick things, all this little stuff, and you're trying to figure out, how do I navigate it and all that sort of stuff. And you said the aftermath takes its toll. So and you said you started your whole wellness program, which is awesome. But
yeah.
How is it you do deal with all of that stuff?
Oh gosh. So after my God, the day after, I immediately called and made an emergency therapy appointment.
Mm-hmm.
To get that rolling. This last critical incident, the department really came through as far as peer support and making sure we had time off. Making sure that we had the time off for the funeral, time off for any mental health appointments. But then we went straight into COVID. So this happened in 2019. Mm-hmm. And then within 4 months, we were shoved into these little boxes called our houses, not told we couldn't go anywhere.
Right.
So you're trying to deal with all this crap that just happened, and then deal with all the emotional fallout that's occurring in your head, not being able to go out and hike, not being able to go out and camp, not being able to go shopping. Right. Retail therapy. There's no retail therapy. We can't do that. You can't go see your family. You can't, over the phone just isn't enough,
right. Yep.
So you're shoving me into this little box, and then, so I'm coping as best I can. I got put on medication. Wasn't really, we were adjusting and whatever, wasn't really helping the beginning. then I got put on a shift, or I'm sorry, a specific supervisor got put on my shift that was not the best.
Okay.
So I'm going through all these mental health challenges, and I have a micromanager put on the shift with me,
Mm-hmm.
a narcissistic micromanager. And so I just I literally fell apart. There was no coping. I mean, everything I was trying wasn't working. So, in August of 2020, I had one of the other supervisors. I was working overtime shift with her, and she put me in her office with workman's comp forms.
Mm-hmm.
Told me not to come out until they were finished.
Okay.
And I had made that phone call to who I was supposed to call, because there's a phone call that goes along with it.
Mm-hmm.
Make that phone call, fill out these papers. You're going on workman's comp.
Okay.
She saved my life.
And that's good, because it could have been something else. I mean,
it could have been a whole lot of other.
Because you don't have somebody that's paying attention to that. No. We can Google it right now, and I don't have the numbers before me, but how many dispatchers, because of situations like that, are committing suicide? We talk about officer involved.
Well, there's been one suicides so far this year.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's more.
Yeah, but you talk about officers, talk about firefighters, you talk about vets. But how many dispatchers are in that, and they're going through so much pain that their only solution is to kill themselves.
Right, because they feel alone. They feel nobody's listening.
Well, yeah.
And they spent all these years listening to others.
Yeah, and nobody's listening. The peer support isn't there. The mental health offerings aren't there. There's still a huge stigma within the within the law enforcement community, first responder community, and the military community about mental health issues.
Right. Yeah.
There's a huge stigma. Because we don't want to be that crazy person. But we're the ones that need to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of others.
Right. And I think it has something to do with the fact that people are always calling us for help. We don't know how to, hey, it's your turn to call for help. I don't do that. I answer the call.
I don't know how to call for help.
Right. Right. My phone only goes one way, to me,
So, had I not had that intervention, I think, down the line, maybe not right away, but down the line, I wouldn't be here. But, I thank God for my grandchildren, because they're the ones that have been keeping me going.
Right. And I think that's important that we have those people. We have people in our lives who keep us moving forward and becoming something more. And if you find yourself in that position where you're not, it's time to take a step out and go get those people in your life.
Yeah, man, and say, screw you all.
Yeah.
I'm taking care of myself.
Right.
And these departments need to realize that it's not a bad thing when you have a cop going to therapy. It's not a bad thing that, your dispatcher is attending support meetings.
Right.
Yeah. They treat alcoholism, they treat drug addiction, but they don't treat mental health. Right.
Mental health it takes a back seat or whatever, and it shouldn't.
Yes.
It should be just as important as anything else, because that's the thing that's going to keep you driving forward in a positive light, and not just driving forward on caffeine and
caffeine and cigarettes
and poor sleep and donuts and cigarettes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I finally, just recently got, referred. I love my GP. She's fabulous. I go in with a list and she fixes me. So my husband had been commenting that I had been making quite a bit of noise, snoring at night. and so I went in and I got a sleep study done and a referral to a psychiatrist because I see a psychologist right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've had a sleep study done and I'm on a CPAP machine, but my psychiatrist, bless her, she's fabulous. And if I lose her, I'm going to hurt somebody. She looked at the whole picture. You have to look at the whole. She's got my medical records up and she's looking at all of me. And she looked and she said, "Oh, you're having a sleep study done." She goes, "We're not going to adjust your medications until after you've been on this whatever for 2 months."
Okay.
And I'm like, "All right." So she goes, "Well, you're snoring?" And I said, "Yes." And they diagnosed me with moderate to severe sleep apnea. So I'm on a CPAP machine, which is the most fabulous thing in the whole entire world.
Right.
I suggest everybody get one. And so I'm going to be on this and it's helping my depression. It's helping my anxiety.
That's cool.
It's been helping my blood sugar because I'm diabetic. Yeah, my blood pressure's down. It's amazing.
That is cool. And yeah, and it's not always medication. It's sometimes your sleep. It makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. So, get off the booze, get off the drugs, get some sleep better. That's where it's at,
Right. Right. I agree. Sleeping is absolutely important. You need to have some good REM sleep and unfortunately we look at ourselves in the first responder world as, "Hey, I got 3 hours of sleep today. I'm ready to go. I've got a bunch of caffeine in me." And we do that because we work those nights and we work those, "Hey, we need you to come back ins." And we work those 7 days straight or more. And then you just keep going.
Holy hell. I remember working 21 days straight, 12-hour shifts.
Jeez. Yeah. I have no doubt.
And so you're working 12-hour shifts. You live an hour away from work. So you drive home an hour. You have an hour of cool down once you get home because, you do. You maybe get 6 hours of sleep because you have to be back up and in the shower and conscious, and you have another, and I was driving through Sacramento getting to work. So
traffic in general.
Traffic sucked.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would take me there was times it took me 2 hours to get home. So I learned all the back roads, but yeah, it just, you can't live like that.
Right. Right. And you can't do it for the long. And now those guys that are the guys and girls that are 23, 24 in their mid 20s, they have some reserve that they can tap into. The older you get, you better hope that
I can't do that anymore.
No.
Holy hell.
Yeah, I agree. It's a pain in the butt. And, I knew that when I was working graveyard,
I still don't. I'm trying to keep up with I'm trying to keep up with my 2-year-old right now. My 2-year-old grandson.
Yeah.
I'm 55 years old. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. When I was working graveyard.
Oh my God,
I'd sleep maybe 6 hours, but I'd go to sleep. I would go as soon as I would get home. I'd crash out as soon as I get home. But I knew guys that were drinking a beer before they'd go to bed so they can sleep better, so.
Oh my God. Oh no, that is so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you're just gaining weight. You're doing all these things. Your diet's poor anyways. And unfortunately.
Graveyard, I think. I love being on graveyard, but just because of the type of calls, it wasn't typical calls.
Right.
But it destroyed my body.
Right. Well, that's what I like about now is there's so much education on it, and people are, even the guys that are working graveyard, they're like, "Well, I'm still trying to eat better," and they're packing their lunches, and they're not. They might rely on 1 or 2 coffees or energy drinks for the 12-hour shifts, but for the most part, they're like, "Nope, I'm going to try not to do that tonight. I'm trying to just, I'm trying to get in the headaches and all these different things," and they're paying attention to it, and there's people that are trying to help them get to that point and pay attention to it. So. And the departments that are providing, a wellness room or a gym or whatever to work out on duty or to go and take a break from that. It's awesome. Get that adrenaline out.
Yeah.
It's
quiet
great.
rooms are nice, and
Yep.
gyms are nice, and they're getting there, but it's not quite there yet. But
Yep. Working on
that's
those
why I'm
things.
out here telling my story so that we can reach these people and tell them that we need to do better.
Right. So that reminds me of something else that we talked about, and we talked about before we started, I think you started at the very beginning, is that you said that you have a mantra that you're kind of going off of now. That's something that you're just constantly just talking about. What is that?
Oh, yeah. So, you hear about, I hear it on my neighborhood Facebook page. So,
Yeah.
kind of like next door, right?
Uh-huh.
But everybody says somebody should call the city and do this. Somebody should do something about the traffic. Somebody should,
XYZ.
XYZ.
Fill in the blank. Yeah.
And so I'm going to be that somebody. That's what I'm doing this year. Is I'm making those calls to City Hall and getting people hooked up with the person that they need to talk to. I'm getting them hooked up with, the traffic, the pop officer at the local police department to get that traffic issue done. And,
Right.
I even, when I'm at the Citizens Academy for Rancho Cordova Police Department right now.
Nice.
Which is awesome.
Yep.
Even though I did 28 years with this department, I don't know about how this city runs and how their police department runs. So that's what I've been doing for the last 10 weeks.
That's cool.
On Wednesday nights, and it's been great.
That's awesome. We're starting. I'm the coordinator for ours at our department, and I've been doing that for 6 years now. And it's amazing the people that you get in there that are just, they want to do something. They want to be somebody that makes a difference. And I encourage anybody, if you have one of those, at whatever agency, whatever police department you have near you, ask if they have one of those citizen academies, and they're absolutely valuable. So
it's wonderful. The only thing they didn't do was take us down to dispatch. And I go, really, guys? Come on.
Oh, we make sure we do that. We actually we'll do them. We'll do a tour of dispatch because it's in the same building as we are, and then we actually have dispatch have a whole class. They get an hour or two.
Yeah, we had that. I actually did the class for dispatch at El Dorado's Citizens Academy.
Okay. Oh, that's cool.
So I developed that one, which was fun. I did the presentation, had the whole PowerPoint thing, and then we did a tour in dispatch. But it just as part of my I love training.
Yeah.
I love teaching. So, but yeah, if you getting out and being that person that's going to say, okay, I'm going to go change this or get the information and do this. And I sometimes think that the city is kind of tired of me because I'm always reporting stuff, because I do walks around the neighborhood
Right.
and I'm like, okay, well, there's this graffiti over here, and I take a picture and send it to them, or this over here, and it's like, okay, here, this tree's falling over here. Let's go fix it.
Right.
And I think they get tired of me because that's all I've been doing for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Because I'm now out in the neighborhood doing things.
Right. You have time.
Yeah.
And you've slept well.
That's the first thing that I did when I got the psychiatrist signed me off of work, is I put myself on a schedule and I made sure I'm outside walking every day. So
it's
good.
Wonderful. Get outside. That's what we need to be doing.
Getting the natural vitamin D going on.
That's so cool. Can you look back on all, your whole life, your whole career, and all that stuff like that? Can that little Debbie that we talked about a little bit ago, could she, if you were to meet her, she would meet you, would she be able to say, that's who I want to be when I grow up?
God, I hope so. I hope so. There's a lot of holy hell. There's a lot of things I would like to protect my younger self from, because it's been a rough and rocky road.
Mm-hmm.
But had I not gone through all of this is like therapy. Holy crap. Had I not gone through it, I wouldn't be the person I am right now.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I wouldn't be so passionate about getting people the help that they need.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. That's all right.
But, we all have our own roads that we're traveling, and things, I believe, happen for a reason. And I'm here for a reason. And if I reach just that one person, it's been worth it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know I don't know per se, but I can almost guarantee there are people that were glad that you were there and that are glad you are still there, because without people like you, we don't have a shot in hell of making it as a society, as people. Without people that are willing to give to each other, give to other people.
Well, and stand up and be that loud voice that says something has to change.
Right.
I may not be loud now, but I will be.
That's right. And that's awesome. So what's on the horizon?
Oh my gosh.
For Debbie Green, is she?
Well, I currently Monday through Friday am the primary child care for one of my grandsons, which is a lot of fun. Kind of giving back to the kids.
Sure.
I have a receptionist job on the weekends that pays my Visa bill.
For that retail therapy you were talking about.
For that retail therapy that I do every once in a while. But I would like to get out there more and get a hold of an organization and go out and teach. Do trainings on mental health and what we need to do better. Someday. Yeah.
There is an absolute need for it, and I know there's lots of people out there. When we get done, I'm gonna give you the information of some folks that I know. They've been on the podcast before, and they're called That Peer Support Couple.
Oh, okay.
And they are great, and I think that they were both police officers, both retired now, but they would be great for you to talk to and just be along that line. So I think that would be great.
Yeah.
So
that would be great.
So
yeah, it's just, oh my gosh.
Well, sorry, I didn't mean to turn on the waterworks.
Oh, that's all right. It happens, Gosh darn PTSD.
That's all right. It's healthy for you, and
yes.
And I'm glad that you are in a position that you're able to cope with it and not let that aftermath take its toll.
No. So. We're well on the road to healing. I won't be totally, I have lots of scars.
That's right.
So,
but you have people around you and in your life that are grateful for you. So
I have some of the best friends ever.
So that's great. So, well, Debbie, I thank you. Is it Debbie or Deborah? I mean, are we
Either
fancy?
One.
Are we fancy
hey,
here?
works.
I want to thank you for coming on the show, and it's great that you reached out, and you're more than welcome to come on again, and we'll talk about that book that you're going to write. That
I'm going to write that book. Actually, I have one in the works. It's kind of like my I don't know, a journal of some sorts.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff that I've written in my journal. And so I've titled it, my working title right now is How the Fuck Did I Get Here?
Okay. There's a title that'll jump out and grab you at Barnes & Noble, huh?
So, yeah. But, it's just sitting in my computer, and I add to it when I need to. And, when I'm ready to face certain issues, I write in it. And
cool. Very cool.
Yeah. So, if anything, it'll just be sitting on my computer and maybe never get published. But, It's there.
Maybe it will one day. Who knows? Who knows? So, well, Debbie, I thank you for coming on. And I'm assuming that if anybody wanted to reach out for, you to teach, where could they find you? Where could they, social media or anything?
I'm on LinkedIn under Deborah Green. I'm on Instagram under D911 Green, and I'm also on Facebook.
So you go on there, guys, find where you can get a hold of Debbie, and we can.
If you know me on Twitter, you know what my handle is, and I don't publish that one. That's my fun place.
There you go.
But I'm also on I'm on TikTok, and I usually put whatever podcasts I've been on. I usually push it out that way too.
That's cool. Very cool. Right on. Well, Debbie, any final thoughts for everybody out there before?
Oh, good gracious. Take care of yourselves. Because if you don't take care of yourselves, you can't take care of those people calling for help.
Yep. Get
a therapist. It's not a bad thing. Have somebody to talk to.
Sounds like a plan. So, well, once again, Debbie, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. And you are welcome back anytime. All righty.
Okay.
We will talk to you after later.
Okay.
And Debbie has left the building, so to speak. That's just one of those things that you don't think about is all the after effect, the aftermath of things. We hear about the shootings and the chases and all the different things that either police officers or firefighters or dispatchers go through. It's the afterwards. It's the long road back to some semblance of normalcy that makes the difference. And that's where it is that a lot of work gets done. And the work beforehand is very important, the training up to it, so you can perform at your highest level during this incident, its issue. But it's the after effect. How is it changing your life, or how are you going to let it change your life? And how are you going to move on beyond it and control it? As I said on the last podcast before this one, how are you evolving to become a better version of yourself and not let those self-imposed limits control you? Sometimes these aren't self-imposed limits. Sometimes these are just limits that are put on because of the stress or the strain from the incident. Well, that's where the work gets done. And so if you can fight beyond that and push past that and become your best version of yourself, more power to you. Kudos to you. So if you want to get a hold of us, you can find us on, like I said, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. You can get a hold of us there. Chime in or just look at our social media and take a look at those and see what it is. If it's cool, if it needs to be fixed, or I need to revamp it or do something else, let me know. And we can make it happen. You can also find us on our website, the What's a Hero podcast.buzzsprout.com. Go there. You can find all our previous episodes, and it has links on the webpage to various podcast platforms in which you might listen to this show. Go there. You can then download from there every episode, and you can have that with you. So while you're working out, or while you're on an airplane, or while you're going on a road trip, you can listen to the podcast, and we can hopefully either entertain you, inspire you, motivate you, whatever the case may be. But you can have that on there. One more thing on that is, if you go to like iTunes or Spotify or whomever, and you have the opportunity to, or you would have the inclination, which would be awesome as well, to go in there and write a review for our podcast. That would get us trending higher on the charts, and that would help us get further information out there to people that could hear us. I would love to see us just trend higher and higher and get better. One cool thing that I realized, because I don't normally look at them, but what I realized is that We've got over 10,000 downloads of this podcast because of you awesome people, and I want to thank you for that. So thank you very much. So with that being said, remember that you need to be looking out for the people next to you. You need to be looking out for yourself, and you got to be able to face those giants when they come. And when they do get there, you will be that much more ready to defeat them. And then you'll be able to start working on preparing yourself for the next one. Because just because that last one was there doesn't mean that's going to be the last one. However, that can be one of your greatest victories. So let yourself evolve, let yourself become better, and work on yourself. You'll be able to be there for others. So for Deborah Green, I have been Ken Frownfelter, and this has been the What's a Hero podcast. We are clear.